All right, thanks everybody for showing up today. My name's Colby, and I am the owner of MCAD, and we provide document services for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So, welcome to our webinar today. Our presentation today, we're going to be talking about affordable fire sprinkler design software solutions. And if you like this kind of information, you can find more of it on our YouTube channel at MCAD Productions. One thing I want to mention real quick, we're going to try and keep the presentation brief so we have plenty of time at the end for questions. So please keep your questions till the end, but if you are having any technical difficulties, there's a chat option, and either Chris Jansen or Chris Carrasco will help you with that. And if we do need to stop to deal with some technical difficulties, they'll alert me of that, and we'll take care of it real quick. Also, if there's anybody here that is already kind of familiar with any CAD or Calc software, I'd be curious to hear what it is, and feel free to type that in the chat as well. So moving along here, a little bit quickly about who I am, who our MCAD is, why you should care what I have to say about this topic. I started my journey in fire sprinkler design in 1999. Started working for a fire sprinkler contractor 2 years out of high school. In high school, I had actually started, I'd taken a drafting class and starting learning AutoCAD 10 on DOS. And in 1999, at the first place I worked, we started using, the first place I worked professionally, we used AutoCAD 1998 LT. And basically, been we started a floor cleaning business in 2003, my wife and I, and coincidentally, after we ended that business, we sold it to Chris Carrasco, who happens to be here today. He's working with me now on this stuff. But we've started and just kind of experimented with many types of businesses over the years. The main reason when I was first doing contract sprinkler design, sprinkler clients I was working with didn't necessarily pay well. And so rather than seeking out more sprinkler clients, I started other entrepreneurial endeavors to try and make up for the ebb and flow of the construction world and whatnot. So in 2018, after reading the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, we decided to create MCAD, the company, and started branding, started documenting our process, developing a training program, and here we are today. This is our first webinar, actually, and we plan to make many different types of funnels related to the architecture, engineering, construction world. The first one we're focusing on is fire sprinklers. We have purchased a URL but have not yet published the website for safeguardfirecad.com. But soon that is where you will be finding this predominant amount of our fire sprinkler information. Okay, so a couple things we want to go over today. We're going to be talking about CAD programs and BIM programs a lot. So what does that mean? CAD stands for Computer Aided Drafting and or Design, and BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. Now in the industry, Autodesk dominates the CAD world, and they have two products. CAD related is AutoCAD, BIM related is Revit. CAD is more two-dimensional, tends to be you can do it in 3D, but basically CAD means you're drawing lines. Basically the same as if you were drawing it with a pencil, but it's just, everything you're drawing is just a line. Whereas in building information modeling, when you draw a wall, a door, window, sprinkler, it knows that it's a sprinkler. And so that there's, usefulness to that information depending on what you're doing. And so a building information modeling program like Revit it has CAD in it, but it's more than that. There's more information than just the CAD tools. And some more definitions, real quick. We're also going to be talking about hydraulic calculation software, and that's the software that we use to determine the pipe sizing in a fire sprinkler system. And we're also going to be talking about software extensions. That's a type of program that is meant to extend or add on to what another program is able to do. And then also real quick, we're going to touch on towards the end PDF, which is the portable document format. And these days, if you are submitting plans to an authority having jurisdiction, since COVID, predominantly we are submitting online. And when we deal with files online, we are submitting in the PDF format. And so that's why we'll be talking about that a little bit, managing PDF files and whatnot. So let's see here. As we look at, this is first what we have are some popular software options out there. And the first two that I have on here are AutoCAD and Revit. And, basically we're doing, sprinkler, we're a subcontractor. The original plans are being done by an architect, predominantly in either AutoCAD or Revit. It's not, 100% the case, but those are the two, Autodesk really has, dominated the market. They're really good at selling their programs to schools, so people get used to them, and they don't know how to function without those two programs. And back when I started at in 1999 on AutoCAD LT, I think that was like $900, and full blown AutoCAD was, I want to say it was $5,000 or $6,000 back then, but you just owned it at that time. That's not available anymore. Now it's a subscription, and that's going to cost you $2,030 a year, and that's if you pay yearly. If you pay monthly, it's more, but that's just for the privilege of having AutoCAD. And then if you want to go the BIM route with Revit, just under $3,000 a year. And now these are viable options. You're going to be sent files from the architect, and you can just use the software they use to manipulate them. That is totally reasonable approach. But as you can see, it's a little expensive. They do have a free trial of all of the Autodesk software, pretty much 30 days, I believe they all are on their website if you want to try it out. Now, most of the software that we're going to be talking about today is going to be using the DWG format, which is the original AutoCAD drawing format. But many more programs exist today than just AutoCAD that can deal with DWGs. So now these next ones that we're going to go into are specific for fire sprinklers. And we're going to kind of start with the high end. And AutoSprink, as far as I can tell, is about the most expensive option out there. They don't advertise any pricing on their website. I did a Google search. All of this pricing, by the way, was I just updated Friday. So this is all best I could find as of Friday. So there was a Reddit forum that people were talking about, asking about the cost of AutoSprink, and this is the pricing that was mentioned: $8,000 to $12,000, depending on the options that you have. I've spoken to someone else that had a pretty loaded option that was close to $20,000. And then annual fees are $1,000 plus to keep that program going, just for the privilege of continuing to use it. If you contact the company, if you go to their website, you can set up a sales demonstration, but there's no kind of like free trial that you can download or anything. And this AutoSprink does do hydraulic calculations natively in it as well. So next we're going to talk about Sprink CAD from Johnson Controls or Tyco. A lot of people, this really seems to be a popular option that gets used a lot out there. I believe that's because they have a flyer for it on the counter at the supply house, and a lot of people don't know anything else out there exists. But for Sprink CAD, It's $5,250 to buy it, and then $920 a year maintenance fee. Same type of thing. You can schedule a salesman to show you the program, but they don't have a free trial that you can download or anything. This also does hydraulic calculations natively. So now some other options that are out there might not be as well known. Um, Fire ACAD is an extension for AutoCAD. Remember that definition we had earlier. So that means, well, first of all, I want to say that the the newest version they have was is for AutoCAD 2021. AutoCAD 2021 is no longer available. You just get the current subscription. You have the current version. It will still work, but basically, this kind of gives you an idea. They haven't really worked on or updated this program since that time. Um, so the cost for Fire ACAD is $3,965. That's an extension for AutoCAD. So you would have this little over $2,000 cost as well. So you'd be looking at, let's see, what would that be? About $6,000 basically to get started. Then after that, you only have a $250 a year maintenance fee to keep Fire ACAD working. But then you'd have to continue with this $2,000 a month option. I mean, I'm sorry, not a month, but a year option with AutoCAD. I couldn't find any information from them about a free trial, but I'm sure, again, you can contact them for a demo. This program does do hydraulic calculations at that price. Another one, not as well known, OmniCAD is an extension for AutoCAD. It hasn't been updated in a while either. 2012, that's fairly old, but it'll still work. Costs $3,000. You pay that $3,000 and you own it. That does not include hydraulic calculations, however. They do have it as an option for more money. I didn't. There's kind of too much for us to go over in a webinar. There's really a lot of different options with these. I'm just giving the most basic for this presentation. But then we get down here, Hydratech. Now you can get this as an add-on for either AutoCAD or Revit. And so 1980 up front, that's just for Hydratech's design tools. If you want hydraulic calculations, it's extra. It's not a lot though, I can't remember exactly. So you're looking at about at least $4,000 to get started, then about $2,800 a year to keep it going, plus a little bit more. This goes up as well if you have calcs included. So our next slide, we're going to talk about what are, some more affordable options out there. A lot of people don't know that this stuff exists. So I mentioned when I started in 1999 at Parker Fire Protection, we were using AutoCAD LT98. And at that time, when you purchased that, you owned it. You had to purchase upgrades if you wanted to upgrade every year, but you still could use it perpetually. Now you basically pay a rental fee of $505 a year. AutoCAD LT does not allow extensions. So any of those programs that we were talking about that are extensions for AutoCAD, if you were thinking you could use this, you can't. That's one of the things about LT. It does not allow extensions. Same with Revit LT, does not allow extensions. But you can in both of those, like you can get the model from the architect in Revit in 3D, and you can model the piping in 3D if that's what you want to do for $540 a year. Now, again, both of these have free trials, but actually, if you go, the last time I did it anyway, it may be different now. But when you download a free trial for either AutoCAD LT or Revit LT, it actually gives you the free trial for the full-blown version. But the LT versions don't allow extensions. I would say that's the biggest differences. Also, the AutoCAD LT doesn't include any of the tools that full-blown AutoCAD would have for maneuvering in 3D space and doing 3D things. So, moving down the line here, when I first went out on my own, even AutoCAD LT was kind of seemed expensive at the time. Back then, it was like $900 to get started. Then you could get upgrades usually every year for like 450. But now, that was a lot of money. So I found this other option. There's a company called Dassault Systems, which is a French company. They make a CAD program called CATIA, which big companies like Boeing use, and places like that, aerospace and whatnot. Um, when Dassault Systems purchased another program you may have heard of called SolidWorks, which is more for smaller to mid-level manufacturing. And they were trying to sell that. A lot of the people who they were trying to sell to were already using AutoCAD. The people thought SolidWorks was great, but said, what am I going to do with my old legacy files if I, if I switch to SolidWorks? So their solution at that time was to create DraftSight as a free program that was compatible with AutoCAD files. And I used it for probably 10 years for free. And I think it was 2019 or 2020, maybe somewhere in there, they started charging for it. And at first you could get it for 99 bucks. The first year there was 3 different versions actually. They have professional and premium now, but there was like a standard version initially for 99 bucks. And they eliminated that and just kept raising the price. And so that made me move on to learn other things. But this isn't a bad option. 300 bucks a year is doable. Basically, DraftSight Professional is pretty comparable to AutoCAD LT, and compatible with DWG files. It's not a bad option. And it's also, if you're on Mac, they have a Mac version. The premium version is going to be more closer to AutoCAD with more three-dimensional tools for $600 a year. And these guys do have trials as well. I believe when you download the trial for DraftSight, it gives you the premium for the 30-day trial automatically. So now, like DraftSight would fall into the category that I would call AutoCAD clones, and there's many of them out there. There's way too many to discuss in this webinar. But besides DraftSight, another one that's popular is BricsCAD, and BricsCAD Lite, which is comparable to AutoCAD LT. That can be purchased right now for $708, and you own it perpetually. You don't have to pay a subscription fee. They do have a option where you can subscribe to it, and it's comparable probably to this DraftSight price. Now, what I actually switched to after I stopped using DraftSight, and what I've been recommending to people, let me back up and mention also BricsCAD is also available on Mac, so that may be a good option for some of you. But what I have been using on Windows, which I switched to after DraftSight, is CMS IntelliCAD. Specifically, the highest version is PE+, and the software on their website, you can purchase it for $329.95. You own it at that point. And this software is better, I would say, than DraftSight Professional. So if you're on a Windows machine, I would suggest IntelliCAD Plus before DraftSight Professional. But maybe if you were on a Mac, consider that. But there's a free trial. And this is actually more than like AutoCAD Lite. I'd say it's closer to full-blown AutoCAD. And you may be able to get extensions, many of your extensions to work on IntelliCAD forgot to mention not BricsCAD Lite, but full-blown BricsCAD also. I know some people are running some of these fire sprinkler extensions on that program as well. I believe the full-blown starts at more like $1,500 to own it. But CMS and Telecad is what I've been using so far, and I've been loving it the last few months. My subscription to DraftSite ended, you know, sometime in the last quarter of last year, and I just went all in on CMS and Telecad, and I've been loving it, to be honest. And another thing, it was direct crossover, but it has way more options than DraftSite. I'd say it's closer to full on AutoCAD. And if you sign up for the free trial, they will send you inevitably a coupon for 50% off. You have to purchase it within a short period of time to get it, but I and several people I've recommended this to have been able to purchase this for $165. Now, I'm also going to mention here LibreCAD. It's an open source free option. Um, there's a reason why I don't use it and recommend it, but if you are just trying to learn, it might be something worth checking out. Everything you could do in LibreCAD would work in one of these other AutoCAD clones, but LibreCAD is only compatible with up to 2003 AutoCAD DWG format, and so you will probably find a lot of limitations from that. It also has a lot of trouble. It only has simplex fonts in it natively, so if you want to get any more advanced fonts with it, you'll have extreme difficulty. But to learn basic CAD moves, commands, move, copy, moving around, drawing, all those types of things that you would learn in there would apply to one of these other programs if you purchased one of them later. There just would be more options than those ones. So now we're going to talk a little bit about hydraulic calcs. If I go back real quick at these previous slides, notice on these popular ones, a lot of these have either hydraulic calcs built in or the option for it. And these more affordable ones, we don't have the option. So how do we deal with calcs? Well, there's several options actually. You could buy Sprint Calc from Johnson Controls or Tyco. Costs $2,500 and $460 a year to maintain your license. You contact Johnson Controls to have a salesman show you a demo of that. When I first started back in 1999, the company that I worked for used the program called Haas from HRS Systems. I just checked the price on Friday, and I'm kind of blown away by how much it's come down. It's actually fairly affordable now. When I first went out on my own, I didn't use Haas because it was so expensive. The initial cost then was a little over $5,000, if I remember right, and the annual maintenance fee was like more like $1,200 to keep it going. So when I first started out on my own, I was using the free version of DraftSite, and there was no way I could afford $5,000 to get Haas. So I found the company called Hydronics, and I really liked them because I was able to switch over almost immediately from Haas. It was a very similar interface. It's not quite as good, but it's pretty good, and you pay one time for it and you own it. You don't have to pay any kind of maintenance fees. Now this is the current version to work on current computers. It's $3,000, but I actually I bought mine. This was at least 15 years ago, if not more than that, 20 years ago maybe. And so it was Hydronics Commercial 4.4. And that program is a 16-bit program. You can still purchase it from them, but it won't work on modern computers. I actually kept a Windows XP computer going for a long time just to use this calc software. And that's a whole nother topic I can talk to you guys about. But if anybody has any questions afterwards about that. But so, because Hydronics 4.4 is about half the price. And I actually am running Hydronics 4.4 on my modern computer now. There is a workaround, but it's not easy, but it's doable. Oh yes, and a couple other things about Hydronics I'll mention is that they do have free trials of both of those that you can get on their website. Another thing that they offer is pay per calc. If you're doing the drawing, say you start out, with DraftSight or AutoCAD LT or whatever, IntelliCAD, and you don't want to do calcs yet, but you know how you want it laid out. You can have someone like Hydronics on their website. There's an option to pay per calc, and I don't remember. I better not say because I should have wrote it down. But if you're just starting out, it might be a reasonable option before you buy a program. HydroCalc from Hydrotech. I see that one out there being used quite a bit because somewhat affordable. $780 to buy that up front, and then $480 a year to maintain it. You have to contact Hydrotech, a salesman, to get a demonstration of that. The next one, 8800 dashboard hydraulics from Sigma. Now, a lot of these programs, including this one, and a lot of this software that we're talking about, I've been in this industry, like I said, since 1999, and some of these things I've barely just recently heard of. It's kind of amazing how hard it is to find information about some of the software. But from what I understand, this is the first hydraulic calculation program that you could purchase. And it originally was operated off of like a mainframe, and you would have a station where you would input it and send it off to them. And like a half an hour later, you'd get the results back. That's how long these guys have been doing this. And in fact, the owner, who unfortunately recently passed away, is an NFPA member. And my understanding is that the whole reason, like basically that the way that the hydraulic calculation report is required to be in the NFPA 13 code book, is based off of this program, because he was an NFPA member that was involved in that decision. Anyway, they don't advertise the price, which I believe is a mistake, because it's very affordable and it's a fantastic program, and I recommend it to everyone who wants to do hydraulic calculations. I recommend you talk to them. It's basically competitive with this price right here, I'll say. There's no annual service fee required, but they do have it as an option, and you would receive any help that you need automatically for free. You just call them up and they take care of it and they walk you through anything. And every time they do an update to the software, you would also get that update for free if you pay for that. I did not do that option. Okay, now another one that's pretty popular because of the pricing, I would say, is Fire from Elite Software. And in fact, a lot of guys in India, I've noticed, use this. I don't know. I spend a lot of time scouring the internet for information about who's doing what with fire sprinklers. And, if there's a lot of guys in India selling their services on Fiverr for, to do sprinkler design. And it's kind of, a lot of them are mediocre, but some of them aren't bad. But a lot of them are using this software, Fire from Elite Software. And the price range depends on how many lines you need to do. Bigger system is going to require more lines. If you're just doing like 13 D&R systems, you could probably start out with this lower end one. And they actually do have the option to upgrade later on if you, whoops, sorry about that. If you need to increase the number of lines that you have capable, you can upgrade later on. And they do have a free trial that you can download on their website as well. And because of that, because they have the price listed right on the website, you can download it, purchase it right from the website, and it's one of the lower cost options. I think it's really that's one of the reasons why it sells so well among people who are looking for a low cost option. I have actually not used it yet. When I was, I did download the demo when I went out on my own and end up buying Hydronics 4.4. I chose Hydronics over that. It was about the same price at the time. But I liked Hydronics just because it was easy to transfer over from Haas, whereas Fire didn't really make sense to me coming from using Haas. But that was a long time ago. So another option I want to mention on here is, and I just found out about this recently actually, is that Viking Sprinkler actually makes a calc program that they give away for free. It's called VCalc. You just have to meet with one of their sales reps. And I actually have an appointment Tuesday. Wait, not tomorrow, but next week Tuesday. Um, to meet with one of them, and they're going to demonstrate this program to me and hopefully give me a copy. We'll see what happens. And there is a standalone version as well as a Revit add-on. So it's an interesting option that we'll be pursuing further, and look for updates from our YouTube channel about that. Some other software that I'm going to mention quickly. This is other stuff that we use in creating our fire sprinkler plans. I've, I don't think I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about my background, but I've done a lot of different CAD work, architectural CAD work, not just fire sprinklers. I've worked for engineers, worked at design, build, construction places. So I'm just kind of familiar with a lot of different architectural drafting tools that a lot of people, especially in the sprinkler industry, might not be aware of. I was doing timber frame drawings at one place in SketchUp because SketchUp has a extension for doing timber frame drawings. And so because I already owned SketchUp Pro 2016 edition, I started doing my fire sprinkler details, including my riser details and standpipe diagrams, those sorts of things in SketchUp. And I happen to already own the Pro Edition, the 2016 Pro Edition, which allows me to export the 3D image at the end as a flattened DWG file that I can then import into DraftSight, IntelliCAD, AutoCAD, whatever. And then I label it. Um, you could do the same thing though with the free version, and it's just it's SketchUp from Trimble. It used to be Google SketchUp, but they sold it quite a few years back to a CAD company called Trimble. And there's the free version. You just is in the browser. You just operate out of the browser. It has a limit of 100 MB file, but you can do quite a bit with that, and you can definitely learn quite a bit with that. So I recommend playing around with that if you're interested in 3D CAD. You could, with the next software, like that free version of SketchUp will not allow you to export as a DWG like my professional version does that I'm talking about. But the next program here on my list would allow you to overcome that problem, because the SketchUp for web will let you print as a PDF your image. And then you could take that image and convert it with any PDF to DWG converter from anydwg.com into a DWG, flattened DWG file that you can then be inserted into any program that works with DWG files. And so I actually use this any PDF. A lot of times, for whatever reason, these days it seems like it's harder to get CAD files sometimes, but we can get PDFs. There's a lot of reasons behind that, from architects using different software to create their plans these days, more than just AutoCAD and Revit. And also from sometimes we are not in direct contact with the architects and contractor, and they want to deal with that, but they don't really know how to ask for the correct things. And so we just end up with a PDF and we just make it work. And this program lets us do that and make it very clean, look the way we want it to. Another piece of software I want to mention, it's handy, is Autodesk Design Review. It's a free PDF and DXF viewer from Autodesk. It's actually a company that they purchased and they're no longer supporting, but it's still out there and available. The website is not like it's Autodesk has the website up, but they're not updating the program for a few years now. But you can still download it free, and this has some of the capabilities similar to Bluebeam, if you've heard of that. Like just to be able to a little bit more than it's geared towards the construction industry or architectural industry than your average PDF viewer. It has some tools in there for measuring and markups and whatnot. Um, Next one I will want to talk about is just if you're for viewing PDFs, I recommend the Foxit PDF viewer. I used to recommend Adobe Reader, the free reader. Adobe invented PDF like 25 years ago back in the day, and so I always use the Adobe Reader, but I've come to realize that it has some things in it that it seems to slow it down, and on big files, it just runs really slow. Sometimes, especially these architects that like to use Revit, end up with like 150, 160 page plan files, and it just lags with Adobe Reader. But this Foxit PDF reader, super quick, loads them, no problem. I really like that program and recommend it. Next on the list I recommend to people is PDFill PDF Tools. It's a free program. It does many things with PDF that are handy. The main things I can think of off the top of my head that I usually use it for is like combining PDFs, merging PDFs, removing, splicing, taking, say I have a submittal package and I want to take a submittal package from another job. This next package is almost identical, but I just need to take out that one sprinkler head that didn't get used on this project and add this other one. And so I use that software to just take the old one and modify it, remove the pages, add them in. And it's free. The worst thing about it is when you are done and you close out of the program, it will automatically open their website in your browser, and you have the inconvenience of having to close that. To get away from that, buy their pro version. I don't even know how much it costs because I've just always used the free version. It works great. I will also mention if you do need to edit PDFs, like maybe directly remove lines from a plan or something. I use the program Nitro PDF Pro. It costs $180, which coincidentally is the same cost as Adobe's PDF software that they would want you to purchase to be able to edit a PDF in the same way. It's the same cost as subscription to them for a year. But for this price with Nitro, you just own it. Oh, and they do have a free trial, so go ahead and try that out. The last piece of software I was going to mention that I use frequently is Google Earth Pro. It's a totally free program from Google. I recommend it if you not already using it. It has measurement tools in there that are pretty cool. You can measure, the distance from the street to the building for your site plans and things like that. Very, very cool, very useful. So that's it for our presentation today. Well, thank you guys. I hope you guys got some questions. We're gonna turn to that next. So, and we're gonna open up, let people unmute and open it up for questions. So,
Nice job, Colby. Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. When you, for everybody else who doesn't know me, I'm doing 13D stuff, and I'm not gonna get into any more than that. I'm not gonna do the big stuff. When we submit plans, or when the contractors I work for, they submit the plans, it goes into PDF, I assume, to the plan checker. So plan checkers can use the program that they have and run their plan check as far as measurements and things like that?
Oh, okay. So yes, that let me see. You are probably asking about the Autodesk design review. Like, could they open it up in that and take measurements and stuff? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really not familiar how they do it. I just was visiting one of the fire marshals and saw him open up a program, and I thought, what is that program, and how does he do the measurements? Head distance and
Okay. Well,
wing size.
it's very likely that he was using Bluebeam. That's kind of like a popular program for doing that type, dealing with construction documents. It has a ton of tools that are just for, like dealing with construction documents. And that it's kind of industry standard. A lot of people use Bluebeam. It's basically this Autodesk design review is a free thing that has some of those capabilities, but it's not as good as Bluebeam for sure.
All right. One other question: what does M stand for in MCAD?
Oh, funny story. Okay, so
If you want to answer.
yeah, no, totally. That's a great question. You know, when we were trying to come up with, we had an idea of what we wanted the company to be. Like, we wanted to do, provide services, uh, help people in architecture, engineers, contractors improve their product, that type of thing. That was our goal, and so we're trying to come up a name related to that. And there is also, MCAD could refer to mechanical CAD. That's one thing, like in the mechanical world, there's people that talk. I think there's a program out there, possibly even called that. I'm not sure. And it's related to mechanical CAD drafting, and you know, uh, I would say this is an MEP field. But the reality is, okay, another thing I'll mention real quick. We started the company at the base of Mount Hood. So you can see in our logo here, if I can do this right, it's
Yeah.
got the mountain symbol. So it kind of is going to represent the mountain, Mount Hood. Where we live here, where our home base is now, which is on the other side of Mount Hood, is in a town called Madras. So the M could stand, it's all ambiguous, to be honest with you.
Well, it works.
It's what it is.
Ambiguous.
When when we started the company, I was playing around with our initials of what I could make out of it, of my wife and our kids, and it's our middle initials, all of us at that time. And it's just the letters I was able to put together. And I was like, well, that sounds like a company of what we're trying to do. And so we went with it.
Right, that works.
So that
Very
was kind
nice.
of a long, convoluted story, but that's what it was. It's our initials, our middle initials.
Very good.
Nice. I had one question for you, Colby.
Yeah, go for it.
When you were talking about the converter, it seemed like there was pretty much just the one option in terms of the application program to change the PDF to DWG.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm pretty sure that actually, full blown AutoCAD, if you have a subscription for that, I believe it has some sort of tool that does it natively in there. Um, but when I bought that, I was using DraftSite, and it didn't have anything like that. There are many free versions of this type of software out there that I played around with, but none of them worked as good as this. And when I did this research to find that program, this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and so there could be something better out there now. But at the time, this was the best thing that I could find. And one of the things about it that was really impressed me over many of the other ones that I tried is that it does have the capability to convert scanned PDFs as well. Most software that's out there can convert PDFs that were created by a CAD program, no problem. But when you go to convert something that was scanned, then it's Can't do anything. But this software can. A lot of times it doesn't come out very good and it's not even usable, but it does it better than any other software I could find.
Does that box it?
That is any DW or any PDF to DWG converter.
Okay.
That's what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a great name.
And
Okay.
that one issue we've kind of discussed where it'll break everything up into tiny little pieces. Is that when it's been scanned?
Yeah, it's definitely more so like that. It's worse. That's much worse when it's
So it
scanned.
always happens to some extent, but
Yeah, yes. Like especially like I would say the best case scenario that happens is that the lines will come through complete, but the hatching will be broken into lines. Like instead of being one piece and be hatching, the hatching will be exploded or be as if it was exploded and they're all individual lines. And that just takes up more memory and makes it run slower.
yeah, we
But
can probably demonstrate that in a future webinar. It just
yeah,
a little
that's
more
definitely a whole nother
technical
topic.
work in terms of moving things around too.
Mhm.
Your attention to detail, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lot on PDFs. That's definitely easily a topic by itself.
Maybe since Owen, you're kind of like our last. We had a couple people pop in and then pop back out. Who knows? Maybe they had work. Probably Monday morning might not be the best time. But in terms of like what would be the next training, I'd be curious, Owen, if there's something you're particularly interested in.
Yeah, well, I'm doing, as Colby knows, I'm doing just 13D, and I've been doing them for years. Initially, drawing on the drafting table, I would get the reflective ceiling plans and draw in the piping, and then run the calcs. I use Hydronics Residential Calculation Program. Then contractors were giving me, they were doing uh, the drawings of the sprinkler systems and just having me run the calcs. Well, now they're asking me to do the 13D drawings and the calcs. So that's why I want to get into this. So I'm looking at a systematic way to learn CAD and do the drawings.
And what CAD software are you using?
IntelliCAD.
Oh, okay.
Then I just started it, so um, I'm not.
On a Windows machine.
Yeah. Um, Compared to you guys, I'm an infant as far as computer design, so I'm a little slow, but so far it's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting. There's really no I was looking on the AFSA website this morning at one of the training programs they have, and it says it's a beginning, like intro to design. But one of the prerequisites is 6 years of experience. Or I'm sorry, not 6 years, 6 months. I misspoke there.
Okay.
6 years would be crazy, but 6 months of experience still. So there really isn't. I mean, I haven't really seen anything out there that breaks it down as basically as we do, as what we're trying to do. Um, a lot of people that come into this industry don't really have even computer background. A lot of guys who are fitters, those types of things.
What are you planning on doing, like designing 13D systems or designing 13R or designing commercial? Or is it going to be all mostly commercial, and then if you learn commercial, you can pretty much do 13D or?
Well, that's a great question, Owen. I appreciate. Actually, so like we are in the process of creating some courses. It's this long, slow process, but my approach is a little bit different than I say traditional approach. I start by teaching 13D first, and as my technicians advance, then I teach them 13R, and from there I go to 13 residential. So it would be like a big tower with standpipes and whatnot. And then after that, I go into other commercial teaching from there. Um, so and then we're going to be doing our courses are going to be the same way. The first course we're working on is just a 13D course.
Yeah, would you recommend like a local community trade center school sometimes offers CAD training? Would you recommend I do that while I'm doing this, or?
That's a great Chris Jansen took a similar type of course. Chris, what would you say from your experience?
The course I took was Santa Rosa Junior College, and it was like in order to take the CAD drafting class, I had to, as a prerequisite, take the actual drawing class. Where you started on a piece of paper and get the right pencils
Oh
and
wow.
the basics of drafting, which I really enjoyed. But if you just wanted to get right to the meat and potatoes, I don't know if the community college near you has that same requirement, and that was probably close to 10 years ago. But I really enjoyed the process, and the teacher I had, when I got to the actual CAD drafting class, it was cool because you got a free, you got the free CAD out of it. They had like a student version that you could put on your computer, and they'd blow it, project it up on the big screen, and he'd go over things and answer questions in class, and having to go through some assignments of like building a little mechanical part. And what was tough for me was I studied that years ago, and then when I started meeting Colby, it's like trying to remember stuff that I learned, whatever it was 10 years ago. But it really, a lot of it did stick. And I think it was partly because I had a good teacher. So I would imagine it somewhat depends on the teacher at the college, but I
Sure.
got a lot from it. I don't think I'd be here right now if I hadn't have took that course.
Well, so like I said, I'm using IntelliCAD, and if say I take a class at the local community college that uses AutoCAD, um, I assume it's all the same tools, just different layout. Is that what I'll
Yeah, it's
experience?
very similar layout. I mean, you could probably make your layout identical pretty easily.
Okay. All
Yeah, I
right.
think they have a free student version that comes when you get one of those classes, but I would be willing to bet from what Colby's taught me that you could probably follow along on IntelliCAD and it'd be basically the same thing for the most part. Minor changes.
That'd be a question for the instructor, I assume.
I would imagine, yeah.
And I would bet that they would not even be familiar with IntelliCAD, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Seems like very few people even know these other things exist. It's kind of wild, but there's tons of them. There's a bunch that I haven't even mentioned, and they're all there's nothing wrong with them. It's just this is the ones I have familiarity with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing I thought I would mention is something we've talked a little bit about is keeping these trainings going like once a month, the free, see if we can bring some people in and but down the line, I think what would be really cool is to kind of have like a mastermind group of sorts where we get some professionals and we know each other and we're working from different counties. There's a lot of knowledge that can be shared to help us all, learn what other professionals are up against or learning. And so that's just something to consider in the future. If you know other people that would be interested in this type of thing, pass the word along that we're doing this one a month free training. And then I'm going to keep trying to share it with everybody I can meet.
Yeah, I've got a guy in mind right now that would be interested in this.
Cool.
Now, as far as the training, like any other class, you want to start a square one and work your way up. Uh, this type of training you guys are going to provide, what prerequisites would you need, or could you start with, Dumb and Dumber and get them going uh, using the CAD program from square one?
You're saying like what could you do on your own before we start the program? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because like I said, I work with graphics programs, Corel Draw for artwork type stuff, so I'm familiar. But this is much more detailed. And where do you start?
I would say I know I gave you some files already to play around with, but well, like I've talked to these two guys here about quite a bit, and I would love to hear what their thoughts on what they think about this. But I feel like the two biggest things to becoming efficient as in these programs is just being able to move around the drawing quickly. Just practicing scroll with the scroll wheel is the fastest way to move on the mouse. Just practicing that and just getting comfortable moving around, being efficient of getting where you need to go, moving things where you need to go. And then another thing that's super important to getting efficient is understanding the different ways of selecting objects, as far as how if you just click on an object, or if you do a box selection from right to left versus left to right. Mastering those concepts are going to make the biggest difference in your efficiency. Everything else you will just kind of pick up and build on as you're going. And the tools for fire sprinklers that we need. One of the things I would say about when you were asking about that class, I would say it would be beneficial, but you would learn a whole bunch of stuff that you might not ever use again for fire sprinklers. Um, Honestly, we use very few of the commands just to do sprinkler. There's like, you drawing lines for the piping. The sprinkler symbols we already have made, and so there's like copying and moving and pasting, and we stretch the pipe sometimes, extend. Like we really don't use that many tools, and so how much time do you have to invest into learning all those other things? I would say it's useful just because you become more familiar with maneuvering around the environment and whatnot and what tools are there. But to accomplish 13D, especially drawings, it's really kind of laying out dots and connecting the dots. There's not really that much to it.
Well, that's good for me.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Chris and Monica, are you folks designers, or what's your work in the sprinkler business?
So I'm kind of like on the same boat as you. I've only been using IntelliCAD for about 2 months now. So before this, I was in a different industry. So I'm beginner to this also.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just taking it all in and a lot of practicing on the program and just getting to know how to move around it, like Chloe was saying. Yeah,
Okay.
just getting used to the commands, copy and pasting, and yeah.
All right. Very good.
I'm also very green behind the ears. Just kind of been freshly trained from Colby and completed a first job and trying to refamiliarize, like I said, myself with stuff I learned many years ago. I have spent the last couple years doing various freelancing work on the computer, and I would say, like you're saying, other programs are really helpful. Like I do a lot of Photoshop, all the Adobe products, and like understanding layers, and all the different ways, all the similarities. There's a lot of parallels, I would say. So, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of a lot of this is new to me, and I'm gathering information here too. So, I really appreciate what Colby's doing because it's kind of opening a new door for me. I've been a carpenter my whole life, and I still do carpentry work out in the field, um, just job by job. And I'm just kind of like trying to make this transition to be able to work from the office when I want to.
You drop those micro lambs in our way.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of cool being a carpenter and having been a foreman on projects where I'm like talking to Colby about stuff, and I'm like, oh man, the guys out there, they'll give us a hard time about that, like because I've
Yeah.
seen things in the real world where what it looks like when the sprinkler fitter guys show up, and there's nowhere for them to drill their holes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, with this modified 13D, I mean, it's like the sprinkler contractor is like a giant termite drilling these giant holes everywhere.
Yeah.
We got to put 1.25 inches up to the second floor. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Bringing back a memory actually right now. Kind of a battle we had.
So they made you do like a 13R calc? Is that what it ended up being, or?
Well, yeah, it's 13R essentially. They call it a modified 13D, and just because it encroaches into the 5-foot setback, and LA County Fire Department is notorious for this kind of stuff. It just makes so difficult. And like I've battled the flow test thing. It costs the contractor $525 to get a flow test for
Right.
a simple 13D system. Well, the flow test is meant to let you know that the water supply can handle the demand of the system. Who, I mean, in the morning, there's more toilets being flushed with more demand than there would be from a sprinkler activation. Why do you need a full-on flow test? It's stupid.
Yeah, and $520, did you say? That's a pretty
Yeah,
hefty fee for a flow test.
yeah, it's ridiculous. But I'm up against these guys who just says, "Well, that's what I want," and they can't give me a reason why when you try to explain to them.
Yeah, well, a lot of the problem, I would say, a lot of these guys don't have any real world experience. So, think about, I mean, an average house. I mean, what kind of square footage houses are we talking about? Average.
3,000.
Yeah, so that's not. I mean, a sprinkler system. I mean, say it was like 9 grand, and you're just gonna throw on a $500 fee. Well, that's a big chunk of nine. That's a big
Yeah,
percentage to up the. And the plans examiners, lots of times, they don't really consider those types of things. And there's a homeowner that has to come up with that at the end of the day, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. What's your argument? Well, it's frustrating because they don't seem to realize it's only 26 gallons plus domestic, and you don't need a flow test. They won't listen to it. Nope, I need that flow test. I need static or residual flow. They want to see that flow graph.
Up here in city of Portland, they do simulations for water flow, but you send in a request and they just email them to you. It's real easy. But what do you do if it doesn't work? Because it's a simulation. It's kind of a weird. You have to do what they call a forward flow test at the end and prove that it works after it's all installed. I still don't know what happens if it doesn't.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a problem just because it never happened.
Yeah, well, they put some real conservative values to it. You have to design to like 80% of their simulated flow.
What is a simulated flow? What do they do?
Well, they have the whole system in a computer model that simulates it. They basically have some really old water mains there, like wood mains in city of Portland that never been replaced, and
Wow.
so they won't allow there's no hydrants to get flushed in city of Portland because they're afraid it's going to do too much damage. So it's
Okay.
doing damage because of all the sediment, but that's
Wow.
cheaper, I guess.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Everybody does a little different.
I'd love to get a piece of that wooden water main.
Right? Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. I've seen some old pictures of them putting that stuff in. It's wild.
Huh. All right.
Well, should we wrap it up, guys? I think we got
Yeah, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
we got some good content. I appreciate everybody showing up.
Yeah,
Um
I'm all in.
yeah, thanks, Owen.
Yeah. Thank you, Colby. That was good. That was great.
Yeah, let's do it again next month, same time, same place, and hopefully we can have some communications in between.
All
Yeah.
right.
I hope we'll try and get a little more
Great.
notice out. If you want to let it, the person you were talking about, Owen, that you want to invite or whatever, feel free to let them know or whatever. You can forward your link to them or whatever next time, and we do have to manually let them in. So if you could just let us know who it is, so we can look for the name.
Okay. And these these webinars, you plan on doing them on Mondays, or is it gonna?
Well, if you have a better idea for a better time, let me know.
Well, the only reason I say is I work at Disney normally on Sunday, Monday.
Okay. So Sunday, Monday is good, are you saying, or?
No, Sunday, Monday, I'm working at Disney, so
Okay,
today's unusual, so.
I'm with you. Okay.
I did get
So
an email from another gentleman that we invited who was asking about different time slots. So I'll ask him like what would work better for you. I think at this point we're still willing to consider different times, but we're just trying to get it started and create a
exactly.
consistency.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll definitely work on coming up with another date. Maybe we get some input from some people, some times that'll work. Try and make something that'll work for everybody, hopefully, or the most people anyway.
Sounds good.
All right.
Awesome. All right.
Well,
Fantastic.
thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a good one.